In this video I'm going to be working on a Savage axis again. This time I'm going to be threading a bolt handle, just using some simple hand tools. This has been done by a number of people on lathes and perhaps doing the same process, but this is just a video going over some of the steps I've taken in doing this in the past. Just a sort of small representation of the tools that I'll be using are going to be a hacksaw, high tension hacksaw with a nice fresh blade is always helpful. Also going to have a selection of files. This is just my big Nicholson Magicut file. Obviously a die and die stock. I'm using a 5/16 by I believe 24 die, which is fairly common for other bolt handles, other threaded on bolt handles I should say. Also a Carbide scribe with a nice fine point and a set of dial calipers. Now the first step I'm going to do is going to involve filing down a flat on top of, this is how the bolt handle normally sits in the bolt, but filing a flat on this surface of the bolt knob. If this were the top of the rifle, obviously bottom, left, and right, this is going just to be the top or outside. I'm not sure how you'd want to define that. But it's going to be a flat. I'm going to try to keep that as parallel to the axis of the bolt as I can, or keep it as parallel to the axis of the bolt as I can. And that's just going to help me mark the correct distance in this dimension for my hacksaw cuts. But I'm going to do that outside. It's too cold for me to set up a camera out there right now. But I'm going to get that done and come back in and show you what's happening. Okay, this is what I've gotten done after about 5 minutes of filing. Magicut file cuts pretty darn quickly, but any large file should remove some material pretty quickly for you. What I forgot to do was tape up the shank of the handle here. Fortunately I didn't gouge it anywhere, but I had done that in the past on a previous version of this project. Dressed it down with a second cut file as well, just to make it a little smoother. What I'm going to do is I've set the jaws of my caliper to 0.315 inches. I'm going to align it in such a way that it lines up with the shank. Then after I color in on the ground portion with some permanent marker, if you have Dicam or Dicam, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, you can use that as well, just as sort of a layout fluid. I'm going to scribe that into place, my Carbide scribe. That's going to give me my cutting lines that I'm going to take my hacksaw to and remove these parts of the knob on the bolt handle. But that'll be coming up next. After about 15 minutes of work, this is what I'm left with. You can see there that I've got a flat on this side, which would be the rear of the bolt handle, and a flat on this side, which would be the front of the bolt handle, or the bolt knob, I should say. What I'm going to be left with eventually is a square profile, or square cross-section, I guess is the right word, here where the bolt knob used to be. What's going to happen then is I'm going to be connecting each of those flats with another flat, leaving me with an octagon shape, and then from there on out knocking each of those corners down, and then that should be approximately the right size to fit into the 5/16 inch die. Currently I've got, like I said, my calipers set to 0.315 inches. I'm going to be doing the same thing as I did earlier, aligning the jaws to the axis of the bolt handle. I won't be able to get my hacksaw any sort of purchase, or the purchase that I'd need to make these cuts, so I'll just be using my big files. You'll see I did scratch the bolt handle here itself where it's shiny. Fortunately, this was wrapped in masking tape, but the second cut file that I was just using to try to dress this up must have cut through, but it's not too deep and it's not too rough, so that should be good enough to when I refinish it. After 30 minutes of work, I've gotten to this stage. As you can see now, I don't know how well that's focusing, but the bolt knob has been reduced to a square post. What I'm going to do is what I said earlier. I'm going to blend each of these flats together by filing down these edges. It's going to leave me with an octagon shape, which I'm going to, once again, knock down the corners. Should make it even more round. Then I'll hit it with the die. Alright, after about an hour of work, as you can see, I've got it fully threaded. I don't know how well you can see that, but it is threaded from the end till about this point. There are some areas here where the shank meets the threaded portion, where I've had to file some things down just to make sure it's a smooth transition. Still got a little more work to do with some smooth files, but that'll be later on. I did uncover a void in the casting here pretty deep, but I don't think it's going to affect the strength any more than it would have if I hadn't ground down this area, because there's going to be something over top of it anyway. Speaking of which, I've got this. It's a phenolic knob with a brass insert I got from McMaser-Carr. It's threaded to 5/16 24, which I think is, like I said, the threading I used. And it fits on... Hold on. That. Here we go. Try this. All right. Okay, as you can see, sort of, you can also see my counter is not very level, but it screws down almost all the way. If I wanted to, I could trim the threaded portion of the bolt handle that I just worked on to get it to lock down the entire way, but I don't think I'll be worried about that. I will just be worried about smoothing these out and making it a nice transition. If you have any questions, of course, as always, please leave a comment in this video section or message me, and thank you for watching.